experts all agree that the appraisal plan will destroy our housing market and that our plan is the best plan.
Yeah, that's exactly the opposite of what we want to happen. We all watched in 2008 California,
Right.
so
Yes.
not what we want.
Yes.
And let's move on to education, because I know that that's also something you laid out in the very beginning of the session. We all were reeling since Uvalde, and we're coming up on the year anniversary of this now, and we're watching across the country. It's still happening. So talk with me a little bit about the Senate's moves, because I know the House just made a big one, but there are some people who think that that might not be the right move as well.
Well, I'm not sure exactly which move you're talking about, because they've been passing a lot of bills as well, and it's hard for me to keep track of our own, which we do very well, but to keep track of each one they're passing. But I'll tell you what our plan is. First of all, my bus tour where we visited back last fall, my bus tour across rural Texas taught me a lot of things. And three of the things, number one, mental health care beds. We need more mental health care beds across rural Texas. So we're putting in $2 billion into more rural health beds, which will go from a hospital in the Panhandle, Amarillo, and more beds in the Lubbock area and Midland area. So that's one of the things we learned. Second, we learned law enforcement's not being funded enough because the counties just don't have the money in a lot of our smaller counties. So we're putting, for the first time, it's unprecedented, the state is going to put in $350 million to pay sheriffs and deputies, DAs or investigators. That's never happened before. And the third thing I learned was that our teachers in rural Texas, there's about an $8,000 to $10,000 pay gap between the average teacher in the urban and suburban areas. So we're increasing pay for rural teachers about $6,000 a year. Across the board, everyone's getting $2. We're getting $4 extra to the rural teachers. Next session, we'll give them more so that they can catch up, because we need to attract teachers. We're also putting in billions more for education. We're putting in about $1.5 billion for school security, which I think the House has the same number on that. We'll work out the plans together. And that's our focus on education. It's security, it's more pay for teachers, more money into the system. And of course, the governor and I, we have the school choice bill. I passed it out of the Senate twice. It's never gotten a hearing in the House. We hope to get a hearing this time. We hope to get a school choice bill that doesn't take any money, Jen, away from local schools. And I want to say this very loudly. It doesn't take any money away from education. In fact, if a student leaves a school district, we will pay that school for that student 5 years after they're gone. So there's no money coming out. We just believe in parental rights. The governor and I believe in parental rights, and one of those is school choice. Every parent should be able to make that decision. And across the country, it's about 3 or 4% of parents who take that position, that they want their child at a different school. And that should be their right. And so that's what our school choice plan is about. And lastly, on education, huge investment for retired teachers. Every retired teacher is 75 and over. There are hundreds of thousands of those. We'll get a check for $7,500 under our plan. And first and finally, they get a COLA, a COLA, cost of living allowance, which they've wanted forever. So we're using our surplus, Jen, to reduce property taxes, to put money into mental health care beds, to put money into rural law enforcement, to give teachers a pay raise, to take care of retired teachers. So we're putting as much money back into the taxpayers' hands and into our schools and our hospitals and our mental health care hospitals as we can.
Definitely. And I know that both you and Governor Abbott said that school choice was something that was not negotiable this session. It's something you really want to address. Do you see this as something that would warrant a special session if an agreement can't be come to during the regular session?
Well, there are lots of things right now: school choice, the property tax issue, the budget, the grid, which is very important, that we need more natural gas plants. We have all the windmills and solar panels we need. We need more natural gas plants, and we need to level that playing field so people will invest in that, because we don't have enough dispatchable power we can count on. I don't want to live every day in, day out, depending on how the wind's blowing and if the sun's out. So there are a lot of things that we have to get done in the last 5 weeks. The Senate, I'm proud of my members. They work really hard. We passed all 30 of the people's priorities. They say my priorities because I list them, but it's the people's priorities. Like we're ending tenure in colleges. We're ending DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion in college. We're ending teaching critical race theory in college. We're mandating a 10-year additional sentence for anyone who uses a gun in a crime. We're stopping drag queens from putting on shows before children. We're getting the pornographic books that you just wouldn't believe. I couldn't even show them to you on camera, even though they're in our libraries and our schools. So we're doing all of those issues, ending gender modification, which we think is child abuse. So it's been a busy session already. The Senate has passed all of these bills, along with a strong border security bill. So we'll wait and see what happens over the House, and that will tell us what happens with the special session.
I did want to talk to you about the grid because Lubbock is moving right now from,
Yes.
a community grid to private and competition grid. We know that dispatchable power is something that we do have a lot of wind and sun here,
Yes.
but talk with me a little bit about the future of places like Lubbock because dispatchable power affects all of us.
Sure. So, Jen, back in 2000, when renewables were really a novelty, we had about 2% of our grid was powered by renewables. Now it's 35% or more, and it's growing. In another 10 years, it'll be over 55%. It's too much. I'm fine with renewables for many reasons, but you have to have enough dispatchable power, which is natural gas, nuclear, or coal, that you can depend on. And we don't. And the reason we don't, Jen, is that the federal government subsidizes the windmills and the solar panels. There are other subsidies that they receive. So there's no investment ability for people to build a natural gas plant because they're saying we can't compete with them. And so we just need more natural gas plants. It's in our Senate Bill 6, as well as 7 and 8. And we need the windmills and solars to have the same, we call it firming. In other words, if they can't deliver, they need to have a battery backup or a tie into a natural gas plant so that they can deliver the power they promise. One of the things that happened in Winter Storm Uri, and a lot of things happened wrong. One of the things was the wind just didn't deliver. And the blades were frozen, the wind wasn't blowing, they didn't deliver virtually anything. So it's a big part. When it's 35% of your grid and they're not turning, you're in trouble. And so we're growing so fast. 11 million people have been added, companies coming here every day, 1,000 people moving here all the time, every day, every other day. That's how many people are coming to Texas. We need more dispatchable power. So we're all in for the natural gas power plants to be built.
Definitely. And I want to thank you one more time for taking your time today. I know it was a busy day, but we're appreciative of you always.
My pleasure. It was great seeing you on the bus tour, and we'll be back out there and see you in person again.
Great. We look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Well, a law that makes it more difficult